Are you a goal setter? Do you want to be a goal getter? Goal Getting, Don't Just Set 'em, Get 'em will provide you with proven techniques and skills to set goals for successful goal achievement and to replace negative goal-killing programming with positive goal-getting oriented thoughts so you can get the goals you set. I'd like to thank my friend, Mark Sentinger, for providing today's theme music, Baccarat. You can check out more of Mark's work at marksentinger.com. Hello and welcome, Goal Getter Nation, to episode 2 of What Did You Say You Wanted? I'm Tony Woodall, your host for Goal Getting, Don't Just Set 'em, Get 'em, your goal getting podcast. Today we're going to be learning step 1 in the 9 steps to successful goal achievement, part of the Goal Getting, Don't Just Set 'em, Get 'em program. I've created an ebook for you outlining the 9 steps to successful goal achievement, and you can grab your own copy over on our website, goalgettingpodcast.com, by clicking on the button or type in goalgettingpodcast.com/ebook to pick up your copy. In episode 0, we learned about the 3 critical concepts of goal setting. We talked about the first concept that I call the what, which is specifically, what do you want to achieve? We talked about the first concept, and we discussed that it is important to know what we want to achieve. Where do we want to go in our goal setting journey? Napoleon Hill, if you're familiar with his book Think and Grow Rich, interviewed the most highly successful people of his time, people such as Andrew Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, and what he wanted to know was what did they do differently from everybody else that propelled them to the level of success and great wealth that they had at the time? What did they do that allowed them to achieve what they achieved? From his studies and interviews, he found 13 specific principles that allowed these gentlemen and other successful leaders to become what they became. The one common thread with all of these successful people was that they had clearly defined written goals. Clearly defined written goals. Each one wrote their goals down, but they were also very clearly defined. Not just, I want to be rich, not just, I want to make a lot of money, or not that I want to be famous. They were clearly defined. Each one knew very clearly where they wanted to go. Speaker and author Mark Victor Hansen, the author or co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, believes and states that that time has proven the 2 most important of these laws and principles, or two of these principles to be the most important that are part of the Think and Grow Rich 13 principles, and that is, number 1, the mastermind principle process, and number 2, know very clearly where you want to go. And that's the clearly defined written goals that we're talking about here. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. So if you've read any other books about current leaders from today, not just those back in Napoleon Hill's time, but if you've checked out books and checked out people who are very successful today, they all have clearly defined written goals. They all know clearly where they wanted to go when they started. So it's important to have those clearly defined written goals. Did you know that only 5% of the people write down their goals? 5%. That's not a lot. 95% don't write their goals down. In 2007, Dr. Gail Matthews at the Dominican University in Northern California performed a scientific study on this. Why? Well, she had heard that there was she and several other behavioral researchers had heard about a Harvard or Yale study from the 50s or 60s that stated a certain percentage of Harvard or Yale alumni had been more successful than others by writing their goals down, and that they, because of this concept that they wrote their goals down, they were more successful. So they started doing some research, and you know what? They couldn't really find any true study. They basically found that it was bunk. There never was any true study. And the worst part about it, they found that many successful people and speakers and have perpetuated that myth through the years when it really didn't exist. So she decided, well, let's see if it works. Let's see if you would be more likely to achieve your goals if you wrote them down. So they did a scientific study at the university. Their study included 5 different groups ranging from not writing their goals down to various levels of writing them down, some with accountability, some with other things, but essentially writing your goals down or not writing your goals down. The conclusion of their study was that the positive effect of written goals was supported. Those who wrote their goals down accomplished significantly more than those who did not write down their goals. They found that you were 42% more likely to achieve your goals if you wrote them down. 42%. That's a big percentage. Do you want the odds with you or without you or against you? So, I like to have the odds with me. So if I'm going to have the odds with me, I'm going to follow step number 1 for successful goal achievement, and that is to write them down. So you want to write your goals down, and you're going to have a 42% greater likelihood of getting the goals you set. I like those odds personally. How about you? So you can find a link to the study information on our show notes at goalgettingpodcast.com/episode 2. Writing your goals down is important, but what Napoleon Hill did find was that they had to be clearly defined written goals, and that was a common trait with all the people that he interviewed. They knew very clearly what they wanted to do and where they wanted to go. So what does clearly defined mean? It means being specific. I like to say specific is terrific. You want to write your goals down with specific details as to know what you want to achieve. This is critical. One of the major components of the goal-getting, don't just set them, get them program, is working with the subconscious mind to replace any negative programming with positive, success-oriented thoughts and beliefs. So creating specific, clearly defined goals allows the mind to understand exactly what we want to achieve. So, go grab yourself a pen and a notepad, and let's work on some examples of your clearly defined written goals. For example, if you have a weight loss goal, and did you know that the number 1 New Year's resolution that people set is to lose weight? So let's look at a weight loss goal. Instead of a resolution, let's work on a goal. You might write something like this. When I wake up on May 1st of next year, I will step on the scale and be excited to see that I now weigh 185 pounds. I will put on my new 34-inch waist pants and go celebrate. So here we have specific goal of 185 pounds. We also have a specific date on which this goal will be accomplished. Now, we're going to talk in later episodes about setting deadlines, because deadlines are critical and crucial for successful goal achievement. But we're going to talk about that later, but we want to make sure that we have a specific date in there. And then we also specified that I'm going to wear a specific waist size of pants. So here we have in our specific goals not only a goal weight, a date of accomplishment and success, and a resulting waist measurement that we want to achieve with that goal. So we've defined 3 specific, clearly defined parts of this program or of this goal that we're trying to achieve. If maybe you have a project goal of some sort, maybe you want to remodel your home, you might write something like this. You might write, I will complete the renovations on my kitchen on March 12th of next year without incurring any additional debt. In this goal, we have specific renovations. The kitchen, we could be more specific if we're doing several different things. You may want to replace the sink, replace the appliances, something along that line to be more specific. But we've got a specific task or part of the goal that we're going to be doing. We have a specific deadline, an end date of when we want to accomplish this goal. And then in this particular goal, we also have the goal. It could be a separate goal to not incur any additional debt, but that's a very valid part of this goal that I have to achieve. I could go out and, blow the wad and purchase all new equipment or all new cabinets, whatever it takes to, do it. And then I really didn't set, exactly what I wanted for this. But here I've set specific goals. I wanted to remodel my kitchen by a given date and not incur any additional debt. So those are very specific goals that we've set for ourselves in there. Goals are very similar to projects in a business type sense. If you work in business and you set business related goals for certain tasks, or if you're like doing software development or implementing a certain software solution, you might have goals set for that. These goals in this project can develop what's called scope creep. And I don't know if you've ever heard the term scope creep, but I've run across it many times in my careers. That happens when you have a project that hasn't been fully defined and agreed upon. So there never has been a clearly defined goal for this project. And what happens is things start getting added onto the project. time starts slipping away. You start creeping into more money, more costs, more resources, and things not even getting accomplished. So, sometimes that goal or that project may fail. And I think the odds, they say, projects fail 40% of the time. Anyway, so goals are very similar to projects. So step number 1 to successful goal achievement is to write it down. So you want to make sure that you write your goals down. But when you start to set your goals, write them down and be specific. Clearly defined written goals. Make your goals as specific as possible. Remember, clearly defined written goals will help you know clearly where you want to go. And that's one of the principles that Napoleon Hill found to be a great trait with all of these successful people of his time. And it's also a successful trait for many of the people that are successful today. So make sure your goals are specific as possible, clearly define written goals. So thank you so much for listening to Goal Getting, Don't Just Set 'em, Get 'em, your goal getting podcast today. You can find us at goalgettingpodcast.com on iTunes and Stitcher. Go check out the show notes at goalgettingpodcast.com/episode 2. You can go pick up a copy of the ebook, 9 Steps to Successful Goal Achievement at goalgetting.com ebook. It's free to you as a listener, so please go out there and pick up your copy. Thank you again for listening to Goal Getting, Don't Just Set 'em, Get 'em, the Goal Getting podcast. Please, if you like what you hear and you find value in our show, please go out to iTunes and leave us a recommendation. I appreciate all the comments and recommendations that you leave, all the comments on the website. I appreciate those. I learn a lot. Please let us know some of the goals that you may have and how we can help you write clearly defined written goals. If you have a friend or somebody that you know that's had a tough time achieving the goals that they set, tell them don't just set them, get them with us over here at the Goal Getter Nation. Have a great week, and we'll see you again next week. Go out and get them.